Hey, this is Leo for Actualized.org. Have you ever run across a person, that crazy person walking down the side of the street who's always talking to himself? I don't know, maybe you're like me, but you had one of these kids in school that everyone picked at and laughed at because they literally were like the crazy person. They were like that schizophrenic kid who was the loner. Nobody wanted to talk to him, and he would be off walking around, always whispering to himself, literally talking to himself, and people thought he was just plain weird and crazy, and everyone laughed at him. Kind of sad, right? But this stuff happens. Well, I'm here to tell you that you need to be more like that guy. What do I mean by this? Well, I was thinking about this, and there's an important thing that as we grow up and we become adults, we tend to start to discount. I think as kids, we have a stronger sense of reality, a stronger sense of inner reality than we do as adults. Because as we grow up as adults, we tend to become very hooked on external feedback and being very conscious of having the outer world reflect and basically dictate what our inner world is going to be like. And I think the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people, and also really genius people and creative people, is that successful and genius and creative people, they tend to have a really strong sense of reality. So what I really want for you, and this is something that I just realized for myself as well, is that I lost a bit of my sense of inner reality. So let's start from the beginning. Basically, the way we're going to lay this out is that you have an inner world, an inner reality, and then you have an outer world, which is outer reality. And in society, we tend to think, and as we grow up as adults, we tend to think that the inner world is not so important. What's important is the outer world. What's important is how much money do you have in your bank account? What's important is what do people actually think of you? What's important is, can you go out there and get a result? Can you demonstrate this? Can you create that kind of effect in your life? That's what's important, right? The external success, or what people think of you. But there's also the more subtle important which is the inner reality that you have. And the inner reality is, well, it's your beliefs, it's your emotions, it's your feelings, it's your thoughts, it's how you think the world works, it's your philosophy about life, it's the principles under which you operate, it's the habits that you have, it's also the visions that you set for yourself. And I think visions is a really big part of what I'm talking about here, because it's the ability to use your imagination to create something in your mind and have it be there and buy into it. Not just say that, oh, this is a daydream or a fantasy, but really believe in it. Because here's the thing, the greatest accomplishments that are achieved out in the external world have to start somewhere. They have to start in the internal world. Every creative genius out there, from business leaders like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates to architects and artists and authors and movie directors and musicians, anybody like that, they have to start to get those massive kind of results that they get. They have to start with something inside them first. That stuff doesn't exist before they come and create it. And the process of creating that is about having a very strong internal vision, a very strong sense of what is possible, and then believing in that, right? And I think that in popular culture and in media and in society, our parents, etc., in business, when we tell people that we have a strong imagination or a strong vision, they tend to think that, they tend to discount that. Because external people will look at us and will say, well, he has a vision, but what does that vision really account for? What does that really mean? What really matters is whether it's materialized in the external world, whether it's here and now, and I can feel it, it's tangible. But those people discount the importance of the imagination part in the inner world. It's the inner world that gets you going, right? So if you envision architecting some sort of beautiful building, how does that process start? It starts in your mind. It starts as some sort of mental image. It starts as a vision. And moreover, if you're going to go through with going through that project and designing it and actually getting a team of thousands of workers to go out and build that skyscraper. How's that going to happen? That's only going to happen through a certain perseverance you're going to have, a certain motivation, because there's going to be a lot of challenges and obstacles getting that to become realized. And so the way to do that and to really make it happen, the people that are able to make it happen, they have to have a really firm belief. And that firm belief comes from something inside of them. That comes from a certain vision that they have. They're inspired by what could be. They're inspired by how they can change reality into a likeness of what's in their mind. So it really starts as an idea, and then only years later does it get manifest into something tangible. And most people, of course, discount that whole process because that's happening on the inside. And that's really what a lot of the struggles that creative people face, is that they face all the emotional toil and labor of going through that process, because that process mostly happens on the inside and other people don't see it. So you're kind of left to struggle there on your own. So what I want for you here, and the prescription that I have, is you need to turn this thing upside down, and you need to start to recondition yourself to believe that having a strong internal reality is really important. And I was thinking about a good analogy for this, and I think that a good one is augmented reality. All right, so you know how right now there's some new technologies out there. They have augmented reality for your iPhone and for apps for mobile devices. Are kind of in the experimental phases, and they also have augmented reality for this thing called Google Glass, which are like these little glasses that you put on. And what it basically does is you're in the real world, but then there's like an overlay, right? There's like a digital overlay, and sometimes you can see this in science fiction movies, where people are walking around the world, and then you have like overlays. Like maybe the computer will tell you that that thing that you're looking at, that chair you're looking at, that's a chair from IKEA and it costs $25, and here's the name, and here's where you can buy it, and here's a buy it now button, so you can go through that whole process. And so it's basically like a digital layer over reality. And that's what I kind of see the mind as being. It's like the original augmented reality, right? And I really mean this in a much deeper sense than just use your imagination to come up with some fiction. I really think that human consciousness and reality, as we know it, we tend to say that reality is out there, it's tangible, and there's also the kind of the delusions we have in our mind. But I think that really that distinction is a lot more blurred than we make it out to be in popular culture. I think that actually the human mind is responsible for a lot of what we call reality and what we think. And when you go through enlightenment work and you go through a lot of meditation, contemplation, you start to see some of these distinctions blur. And really what's happening is that right now, your reality is already augmented by your mind. It's already augmented and colored by filters that you have. It's colored by the experiences you had growing up, by the habits that you have, the mental habits that you have, your own disposition. And so really, what you're experiencing as reality, even though you're telling yourself that that's what's real, it's not quite as real as you think it is. A lot of that is augmented, right? When you're looking at your life and you're saying, well, I can't start a business because the economy's not going well. Well, you know what? That's a filter that's filtering your reality. So you're living in an augmented reality world, whether you like it or not. And in that sense, what I really want for you is I want for you to, first of all, acknowledge that. And it takes some experiences, some contemplation, maybe some life experiences that trigger this kind of sense, this sixth sense in you, that really a lot of what you're seeing out there and what you think is real is partly a fabrication of your own mind. The trick though, when it comes to success and fulfillment and personal development, is that you want to start to use that to your advantage. So why not have an augmented reality that helps you be successful? And by that I mean, really take your own visions seriously. Start to view your own thoughts and your own habits and your own imagination as something that's real, right? Because you know what? Right now, you're using it already, whether you acknowledge it or not. And you're probably using it in an unempowering, negative way. Like you're worrying all the time, you're having that monkey chatter in your brain, you're having self-doubts, you're having all sorts of limiting beliefs, and you probably don't even consciously realize this until you start observing yourself. But you know what? Those things are going on in the back of your mind. Even if you've done a lot of personal development work, it's really hard to eradicate all of that. So that's there. And one thing you can do is you can undertake and basically undertake a process to eradicate those and to shift them and to become more positive, more optimistic, to remove those limiting beliefs, I think that's a really powerful strategy. You can work on your self-image, things like that. But what I'm talking about here is getting a firmer sense and I guess a deeper connection with your imagination, and not seeing your imagination as something that's frivolous and seeing it as something that's airy-fairy, but really starting to believe in it. Like that schizophrenic kid walking down the sidewalk who's a little bit nuts. Why is he so nuts? Think about it. The reason he's nuts and the reason that we look at him and we're like, ooh, there's something wrong there, he's a little bit weird, I don't know if I want to go talk to him, it's because he has a really strong sense of inner reality, right? The things that are going on in his mind are literally true for him. It's like whatever demons he sees out there, whatever conspiracy theories he has, whatever monsters he imagines, they're very real and they're very palpable. Whereas for a normal person who's not schizophrenic or has psychological problems, just a psychologically healthy person, for them, we tend to think of something like that and then we dismiss it because we're like, well, that's not real. That's just like a dream. It's a fantasy. I think that's healthy, that's good, but I think for a psychologically healthy person, it actually is good to learn to be a little bit more like the schizophrenic. And obviously, if you are schizophrenic or you have mental issues, then advice is not for you. You need to go the other route. But I'm talking about the 99% of people who are psychologically healthy. For them, I think they need a stronger sense of internal reality, right? When you imagine, for example, for yourself, the kind of business that you want to build, or the kind of book that you want to write and the story of that book, or the kind of movie that you want to go out and shoot, wherever your dream is, right? Whatever you want for your life. When you imagine it, I want you to really feel it as something that's real. Those thoughts should become real for you. It shouldn't be like a minor dream or a fantasy. It's like you want to really buy into it, like that schizophrenic, and you want to almost kind of like live it, and you're like, yeah, this is real. And you don't want to say to yourself, well, it's only real in my mind, and it's not real in the external world yet. That's how it's supposed to be, right? That's normal. That's how it starts off. That's how creativity gets going. That's what's cool about the human mind, is that we have this faculty of imagination that is really not possessed, as far as we know, by any other creature on this planet. No other animal really has this ability to dream and to imagine and to believe in something so much that then that guides our actions and ultimately can lead to that becoming real. So there's this interesting argument that could be made that it is real because it's in your mind and it's as real as you make it out to be. So that schizophrenic makes it really real for himself because he buys into it. Whereas for you, it's not probably as real because you dismiss it as something, as a figment of imagination. I think imagination is much more powerful than that, and I want to challenge you to think differently about your imagination and to really start to take all those ideas seriously and to really give them life, live into them, and see your world as an augmented reality so that those imaginations are shaping and coloring your world, but you're actually thinking of it as one cohesive reality. It's not really two, it's one. It's just that we make this convenient distinction between outer world, inner world. But really, there is an intersection and the two combine together. And that's where your thoughts are shaping your actions. So whatever creative capacity you have in your life, whether you're building a good family life or you see yourself as being fit and buff, at the ideal weight that you want to be at and toned, or whether you have that creative project that you're working on, put it like an augmented reality overlay on top of what you're seeing right now. So right now, maybe you don't have that dream house. And right now, maybe your career is not doing what you want it to be doing for you. And that project that you're working on, maybe that book that you're writing, it's really not coming together like you want it to. But you need to start creating the castles, so to speak, in your mind. You create the castle in your mind, and then it will start to happen out there. Your actions will start to make it happen. That's why visualization is so powerful, and I have videos talking about how to do visualization, the power of visualization. But what I ultimately want you to have is a stronger sense of internal reality. And I want you to really merge this idea that your internal world should overlap your external world. And that it all starts, the power of it all comes from the internal world. So let me give you a few practical points about what I really mean by how to do this. Because it's nice to talk about it, but how do you actually do this in your life? Well, I think number one, start giving a lot more importance to your ideas and your visions. right? Really see them as real. Don't let people discount your visions. Don't let people just dismiss your visions and tell you, oh, that's just in your mind. You're a silly dreamer. These are just ideas. They're just ideas. No, just ideas are really powerful. Ideas are where it all starts. Of course, you have to follow up and take action on it, but the vision is what creates drive. It's what creates motivation within you. And it's also something that you can use to literally construct it within your own mind. Think of your mind like a CAD program where you can do rapid prototyping. You can build designs in your mind for what you want, whether it's a design for your ideally how you look in the mirror with your body, or it's a design for your business, or it's a design for some invention that you're going to create. You can do a lot of the work in your mind, but most of us don't tend to do that because we don't think that it's real. We tend to think that it's real when it's on paper, when it's real when it's on a computer. But you know what? Your mind is one of the best simulators out there, so you can do that. In fact, there are examples. For example, Nikola Tesla. If you read his biography and if you read any stories about him, he was a really interesting character. He was actually a slightly mentally deranged character. He had like manic bipolar disorder, but he was extremely creative. He had a really strong memory, and he had like a photographic memory, and he also had a very strong visualization skills. And so a lot of his inventions, complex designs, like really complex engineering designs, because he worked on the electrical motor, and he also invented alternating current, which we use now in our electrical sockets. So he was the inventor of that, but a lot of those designs that he made purely in his mind, and he made them work in his mind. He worked them out to such great detail that then when he assembled it in real life, it worked. And these were extremely complex designs. So that just shows you kind of the power of what you can do with your mind and how real and tangible that can be. So first of all, it's getting this mental shift. It's getting your blocks around kind of the hesitations of going down the route of really believing in your inner world. You have to get that straightened up, because that then is going to open you up to go out there and actually live it. And some of the practical ways that you can live and create a really strong inner reality, I think spending time alone and spending more time contemplating and spending more time concentrating on your thoughts is really powerful. So techniques like visualizations, also techniques like meditation, or just sitting down and contemplating and thinking things through is really powerful. And I tend to think that now in our busy lives where we're all running around, we're all socially connected through media and through the internet and things like Facebook, we tend to have less alone time, less time to just sit by ourselves in a room and think things through, think our ideas through, think our visions through in great detail. I think this is something that I personally right now am really excited about putting more of into my own life, because I'm not doing that enough right now. And I can see the potential that's going to have long term for me, because I can do so much with my business if I start planning out in my mind. And sometimes I'll have these flashes. I won't right now literally sit down and dedicate the time just to contemplate. I just haven't created that habit, which is something I want to do. But like, for example, when I'm in the shower, or when I'm in the car, or when I'm walking down the street, sometimes I'm going to have these ideas and I have this flash. And it shows me the power of it. It shows me the power of this visualization and of this inner reality that I'm talking about, because I'll all of a sudden have ideas for how I want to shoot a video or the kind of article I want to write, and things just start to click in my mind really fast. And all of a sudden half an hour goes by in the shower, and I come out of the shower with all these ideas, and I feel really engaged, I feel really motivated, and then all of a sudden I go out there and actually make it happen. Whereas other times when I'm not doing that, then I'm just kind of running on autopilot and I'm not really being creative. And so those creative moments, I think we can see where those creative moments are in our lives and kind of the conditions that lead up to them, and then we can consciously go out there and extend those moments. Try to get more of those into your life, right? So the shower's maybe one place to do that, but maybe another habit that you can do is just to sit down for half an hour every morning before you start doing your work and do a little bit of visualization or do a little bit of journaling and contemplation, and just think about, what is that you want to be working on, and create a really strong inner reality so that you're believing in those things, and then go out and take action the rest of your day. So this isn't something you should be doing all day, but I think a little bit of that daydreaming time is really good. So creating that habit can be really powerful. That's one way to go. Another thing is journaling. I think journaling is really powerful. It can really dovetail nicely with this meditation, visualization / contemplation time. Is not only are you doing that, but you have some place that you can write this stuff down, and you make this also into a habit, something that you do consistently, where you're journaling and you're writing things out. Because as you're doing that, you tend to get immersed in it. It's like reading a novel, it becomes your reality. Or it's like watching a movie, it becomes your reality. And that's kind of what you want with your creative life, right? Whatever you're trying to create in your life, you want to be thinking about it all the time. You want to become like that schizophrenic where it's just like, it's real for you, it's tangible, it's palpable. And other people might kind of snicker at you and say, you know what, he's kind of off in his own world. But that's a good thing. I think for most of us, that's a good thing. Some people that are a little bit far out there, maybe they need to dial it back. But for most of us, where we're so concerned about our external world and we're so concerned about reacting to the external world, that we're not creators in our own lives. So I think that's another way to do it, is through journaling. Other ways is, I want you to just really have a high regard for your own thoughts, a high regard for your own imagination. And find ways where you can use your mind, build your willpower muscles so that you can become a stronger visualizer, right? And don't be so concerned about what other people think of you. Unhook yourself from that need. Have the courage to say that I'm going to believe in my visions and that they will become reality over time. And if you think about it, that's the way that you really accomplished anything creative and great in your life, if you have in the past. And most of us has had at least a couple of moments where we can say, you know what, yeah, I kind of believed in something that wasn't real, and then I made it real just through sheer will, through sheer imagination, through sheer vision, because I really believed in it. And then after months of work, or maybe even years, finally it came about. But the only reason that really came about is because you had that vision for it. And I think intuitively kids understand this really well, because when they grow up, they're just free, they're present, they're in the moment, and they're really good at using their imagination. That's why they can play with toys that to us seem boring, because for us, we just look at them and we just say, oh, these are toys. In the external world, there's no story there, there's no action there. For a kid, give him a couple of toys that are very simple and he'll create a story, he'll create a plot. There's going to be something going on. He's basically literally going to be the director of his own movie in his mind. And for him, it's so real, he buys into it, and it does become his reality. So it's kind of like that saying, if you believe that it can't happen, then you're right. And if you believe that it can happen, you're also right. So you're right either way. The question is, what's empowering you? Why not have that augmented reality? You don't need an app. You don't need Google Glass. What you can do is you can use your mind to create a filter, a conscious filter that you put on reality, so that when you're walking down the sidewalk, you're seeing it as you want it to be. Not as it is, but as you want it to be. And if you start seeing things as you want them to be, sooner or later, they become reality. Not only for you internally, but they also then become a reality for all of us. And that is the way that you improve the world. That's the way that you become a creative genius. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up there. Go ahead, share your thoughts, give me your comments. I'd love to hear from you about what you think on becoming more like a schizophrenic.